One of the main mysteries that's going to go down in history if it doesn't work out for Deshaun Watson is where it all went wrong. From one of the best top three quarterbacks in the league, undeniably, to playing like a guy that we don't even recognize. There will be case studies and documentaries done on this. We need to figure out, and we'll start to put the pieces together right here. What happened along the way that turned Deshaun Watson into the quarterback we see today? We'll come back and we'll diagnose it right here on the Ultimate Browns. Welcome to the fastest 30 minutes in all the sports. It's G. Bush here with you on the Ultimate Browns. We want to thank you guys for making Ultimate Browns one of the stops of your day, for checking out all Browns content. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you continue to get our 2 episodes every single week. As always, we got a great show for you. We're going to look at the silver lining in 2024. If the Browns continue to play this poorly, is there a silver lining that we could take away from this situation and figure out whether or not there's something we could take away from this season that has been a disaster so far? We'll talk about that. How much longer can it last? Right now, Kevin Stefanski has come out and said he's not making a change at quarterback. He's also not making a change for play callers, giving the play calls to Ken Dorsey. He's also not making major changes up front to the offensive line or anything else, or the offense, or reverting back to the old style offense that he was much better known for, much more successful. We'll talk about how long that can last. How long can they continue to trot people out there if they don't continue making any progress, and if they still have the product looking like it did against Washington this week against the Philadelphia Eagles? We'll talk about that as well. But first, let's get to this. What went wrong with Deshaun Watson? And this is more so or less, some of the, this is more of a different conversation than about whether he's good or not, or what all entailed into some of the details of all the stuff that he had to go through off the field. I want to boil this down and take a look at some of the things that transpired over the 2 years, that take a look and say what could have been contributing factors to a player that that went from a guy that was right underneath Patrick Mahomes to a guy who is now known as an individual who is, playing some of the worst football of his career, and it just looks like a completely different person. How do you go from that to that? Let's try to put those pieces together, and I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. Put it in the comment section. What do you think was the timeline of events that had Deshaun Watson as one of the top quarterbacks in the league until now where he's at today? What goes into that, and what kind of mystery do you think? So almost like a murder mystery, like what happened, who done it, was it the butler? We're going to talk about that here coming up in a second. But there's an article right here. This was a courtesy of Pro Football Talk. Mike Florio was talking, and they spoke about an anonymous GM and some of the things that he saw early on that he was alarmed about. And we'll come back and kind of take a look at it and dissect this a little bit on our own, because they're using this as kind of a smoking gun, and a lot of people is doing this. A lot of people are trying to go back, and hindsight is 2020, and they're trying to read the tea leaves on where it was exactly that Deshaun Watson began to show any signs that he was not as good, or he had the propensity in his game anywhere to play where he is today.
So I talked to an AFC executive. I think it was Tuesday, and we got to Watson as being part of the subject, and he recounted to me at one point he was watching. I got to be careful how I say this because it'll make it obvious who it was. He had an ability at one point to watch Deshaun in a Texans practice, right? And he said it shocked him, and this was the year that Deshaun, it was his last big year in Houston when they went 4-12, but he put up massive statistics, right? So he said, what shocked me was I'm standing there and I'm watching him, and during the course of practice, I see him continually looking at the sideline, and he's looking at Bill O'Brien, and he's like, and I'm realizing that there's a multitude of decisions that he's got to make in practice, but he's looking to the head coach to make these decisions. And this executive said to me, I was stunned because we were at the point in his career where that should not happen at all anymore. And he said, in that moment, I thought to myself, like, this is not a fully developed situation here. Like, there's something still missing. And yeah, he's putting up big stats. They're losing games. But there's something not completely right. And he said, that's something that he has thought about as he's watched Watson later in his career, was that Billy O'Brien, might have been covering for some missing, some craters, some missing pieces in that development for Deshaun Watson, and maybe how the scheme was running and some other things. And that's sort of what we're now seeing, is that he was not he wasn't a fully baked cake at that point in Houston. We thought he was because of the numbers, but we weren't seeing everything that was going on behind the scenes.
So you see there a little bit. He's talking about it from a perspective of, a GM, an anonymous GM, who's saying that, look, I had a chance to watch him play, and there were some things that was going on where Bill O'Brien was doing a lot of different things to get Deshaun Watson ready to play. Now, some people will take a look at this and say this is a knock on Deshaun Watson. Some people will even take it another step further and say that Deshaun Watson may not have the cognitive abilities to play the game of football. I would say that's absolutely false. When you deal with some of these different conversations, you have to unpack it a little bit. And it's not a knock to Deshaun Watson. I think what it says more is that, you give credit to Bill O'Brien for being able to work with certain individuals to get the best out of them. It's no secret that quarterbacks work in collaboration with the play callers. They work in collaboration with the coaching staff. They get the best schemes and fits and routes and receivers and combinations to all work in one part for Deshaun Watson. And so, there's a thought process to me that, look, you play to people's strengths, right? And some people will say, well, Deshaun Watson is playing right now, he doesn't have any strengths, right? So, but you play to that person's strengths. You do what you can do to coach them up. And Sean King talks about it all the time. When you are a play caller and you are a guy who's creating an offense, and this is why I don't like dual play callers and collaborative efforts. And the reason I don't like collaborative efforts is because I want somebody to be enthralled in the mix. It's a relationship. I don't believe it's like being married and trying to have more than one wife. Nah, bro, I need to be locked in with what she talking about. I can't be following, I can't follow one wife, let alone two. Sometimes you got to be married to the game plan. And when you got Deshaun Watson and you got a play caller who is calling the plays, but necessarily may not be as heavy on the install, heavy on the why we are looking at that. Sometimes when you are breaking down defenses and you call a play, you've schemed it from one point, from its infancy all the way to the play where you're getting it to install it with the quarterback, and now you're practicing it on a game week. What I want is I want the guys to know when I drew it up, I want them to know the why. Hey, the reason I'm having this guy number one on the progression is because I'm expecting a certain coverage. So if you get a different coverage, we're going to go to number two. Why are we going to number two in this route? Because I want to look to this route because they're giving me that extra coverage, and we're going to have some space to wiggle if we keep the safety preoccupied with our eyes and they go to number two. When you give somebody the why, when they have some skin in it, and it's one voice and it's concise. There was no wiggle room. It's, we worked on it. You're looking at me. I can call you in the middle of the night, be like, yo, I was thinking up this play. But I like that type of thing. Sometimes when you got more than one cook in the kitchen, sometimes you can get to a place where it's just not, you're listening to this person and he might got a way he thinks about where the ball should go. Or, hey, I got a different philosophy on what we should be doing here. I liked it to be, who am I reporting to? I want to know my job. I want to know what I'm doing, and I want to know it in a way where I know what to expect. And so, I don't take it a knock against Bill O'Brien. I just think he did a good job of making sure that Deshaun Watson got put in the best positions. He was comfortable with what he was doing. And I don't know. Let's ask a question. I know coaches go back and speak with people all the time. I wonder how much that did Kevin Stefanski or Ken Dorsey go back and speak to the people that were coaching him in Clemson, or the people that coached him in Houston. Did they have an opportunity to say, hey, what were you guys running? Hey, what was the protection scheme, right? Was Deshaun calling the line calls out for the protection, or sliding it one way or the other, or was the center doing that? How did you guys handle the run fits, right? Did he have the ability to call audibles from place to place, or were the audibles coming from the sidelines? See, a lot of people believe that, because you're getting 230, that you are coming as a complete player and you can make all the line checks, you can read the defenses, you're calling out the blitzes, you're doing all those type things. Maybe he wasn't doing those things, right? Maybe those things weren't part of his responsibility in Houston, and they are now, and it's overwhelming. The first thing I want to say is and where I think they went wrong a little bit was this. On the field, where they went wrong, I think one of the biggest parts that stunted Deshaun Watson's growth, which is the thesis, is I think the 11-game suspension was devastating, because it put you at a position where you were behind the 8 ball. You had already sat out a year. That time, and here's the thing, that was his choice, right? So you're not going to get that from me. Whatever reason it was, he could have fought through it, did whatever. He sat out. Then you get the 11-game suspension. I think that time is so detrimental to your development, because in a year's time, so many things change. Think about technology and phones. Think about the difference between your phone changing from one year to the next. That's almost 2 calendar years. That means, guys are getting faster. They're drafting new players. They have new schemes and setups that people are dealing with. And now that's going in, and that's playing a part in it. I also think, and I talked to Quincy Carey about this, and we had a conversation where we was having a conversation about this. And I don't think people take in this consideration. I think this was one of the biggest things that go into it. When you come in and you take over for a person, like we talk about Jed Wills taking over for Joe Thomas a lot. Joe Thomas is beloved in this city, but he's not a quarterback. Also, I got to take a look at this way too. When you draft a Baker Mayfield and it comes off the backdrop of you being 1-31, he looks like the guy who's going to lead you to the promised land. He wins the game against the Steelers. Everyone loves Baker. The people in the city identify with his attitude and different things. I think sometimes people don't realize from the outside coming in what type of city Cleveland is. In the city of Cleveland, they are blue collar. They don't like a lot of flash. They don't like a lot of celebrations. They don't like a lot of exuberance. They don't like a lot of the flair that comes with it. We've never traditionally liked it. That's why the first thing they talk about is when you come in, it's a blue collar city. And what blue collar city means, I expect you to win, but then I don't want to hear about it. I expect you to win, but don't you be flaunting it. And it's a different culture. It's a different way. And any place you go in the different places that you be at, it's different. And I think sometimes the organization should be doing a better job. And me and Quincy talked about this, of letting people know, hey, listen, you may not know about, Cleveland. You may think, it's tough on teams and people in Boston or Philadelphia or Chicago or New York. Cleveland is the exact same way. Cleveland is that way too when it comes to the expectations. And if you ain't playing well, you're gonna know about it. And I think it caught a lot of these guys that came from different other places. I think it caught Odell Beckham Jr. off guard. I even think it caught Johnny Manziel off guard. Like I thought he probably thought he was going to some country bumpkin place in Cleveland, and I can go party and do whatever I need to do and not study and hang out. And he realized, oh, no, we will find you. We're going to find you, and we're going to let you know about it, right? So, to me, I think that coupled with the fact that he followed Baker Mayfield, he took 2 years off, I think it hurt his game a little bit. I think it hurt his processing speed a little bit. And I think it hurt him that, when he got here, he's expecting to be embraced in a certain way. And it wasn't like that. Not only you didn't get embraced because, had a lot of baggage and allegations that came with it, but not only you came after a person that they was beloved in the city, and then it didn't help you that Joe Flacco balled out right before you. And it don't really help. You know what I'm saying? That you, like, when you comes to being a vocal leader and a person who is outwardly demonstrative, that's not your personality. All of those things, I think, built into a situation where there was a lot of people that just did not like or were visibly frustrated with Deshaun Watson. And let me just give you this. One of the greatest athletes in the history of the world, LeBron James. He was from here. He got booed. His jersey got burnt, and it affected him greatly. It affected his psyche on another level. It affected him so much when he went to Miami. He even tried to embrace being a villain and realized that he wasn't happy as a person. One thing that we got to understand, it was when you're dealing with athletes, is athletes are people just like you. They just happen to be able to shoot a basketball, run faster, and hit home runs. There's still people that want to be admired, still people that, especially when you're coming from a situation where you've always been admired, you've always been a person who has been liked and is given that special, attention. And then you go somewhere and it's like being an army kid going to a new city and you're looking for a table to sit at and nobody wants you to sit at the table. Right? People calling you names, you might be, you may talk a little different or speak a little different or dress a little different. And now you're sitting there while everybody else is judging you. And not to mention, you're playing bad. So I think all those things, and coupled with the fact that you have the death of your father, coupled with the death of your one of your best friends, and you're not playing football very well, and every other day there's another allegation, every other day is another lawsuit, and it's like, wow, you get to a point where you live in your head and you're just shell-shocked. And it starts to be one of those things where you actually start to say, did I make the right decision in coming here? Did I make the right decision? Because right now, I'm in a place where I don't feel like I have anybody that's in my corner and it's affecting me mentally. And that's where I think it hits you with the time off, all those things happening, and it snowballed. We'll continue to talk about it forever because we've never seen a fall like that. We've never seen a guy go from one place to the other. I'd be anxious to see what your suggestion is and what your theory is. Why and how? What was the first time you saw something that was a little off? And then, how do we get to going from top 3 to being one of the quarterbacks that is playing the worst in the NFL right now? I'm anxious to see what you guys say in the comment section. With that being said, we'll come back and we'll talk about how much longer can it last. Kevin Stefanski and the Cleveland Browns are saying that they're not making no changes. Full speed ahead with the same game plan, same roster, same quarterback against the Eagles. Well, let's talk about the great people over at FanDuel. It's playoff time in Major League Baseball. The Guardians are fighting the Detroit Tigers, and the start of the NBA is right around the corner. FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game, whether that be MLB, NBA, NFL. It's all there and available to you at FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots and hockey to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/UCSS and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in sports. G. Bush here with the Ultimate Browns. Browns playing some tough football right now. They go on the road to face the Philadelphia Eagles. Kevin Stefanski earlier this week said he's not going to make any changes at quarterback. He will still continue to call the plays, and they don't foresee any major changes in philosophy and playbook when it comes to this game. So my question to you is, how much longer can Kevin Stefanski afford to say that in the eyes of taking these L's and looking so bad offensively? Well, we talked about it on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show earlier today, and Tyvis Powell had a very interesting point about what Kevin Stefanski has to watch out for if he continues to trot out the same type quarterback and then not have any changes. What will happen to the 52 or 53 man roster?
I mean, I think that at some point you have to at least be honest with yourself. Yeah. So I think the thought comes into your mind. Obviously, you want it to work really bad, and you're going to do everything you can to make that situation work. But, you still owe it to 52 other guys in that locker room, to put the best foot forward. So at some point, I think, if he continues to play bad, then, the thought will come into his head, and he will have no choice but to think about those things. And as far as the social media thing goes with Deshaun, listen, I'm 30 years old. I'm not that far removed, okay? Mm-hmm. And I've been in the locker room multiple times. And you know what everybody do as soon as they get to their locker room?
Use their phone.
They go just like this. So with that being said, and it's not like he doesn't post on social media, so he sees stuff. And on top of that, when it's stuff like that, people tend to send you text messages anyways, like, hey, they talking crazy about you, stuff like that. So I do think that he does see it. I think that every athlete is always told to say you don't pay attention to social media, but you do.
And that was a episode earlier today on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Tyvis Powell, me and Adam the Bull talking about that point he was making afterwards was talking about Deshaun Watson came out and said he's not on social media. He doesn't post. And they asked, did we believe that, players, especially at that high profile position, the quarterback, do they believe that they don't see what's going on in social media? And it's hard. Like when you talk about it, you got people that run your social media accounts, but it's human nature. Like, and I think sometimes a lot of people, this is why I don't want to get too far into it. But look, man, it's a different generation. And sometimes we get old and, people don't understand certain things. Like, there was a generation here that, people that are my age that grew up when there was no cell phones. They grew up with answering machines and grew up with the fact that if you went home, you just weren't talking to nobody. We grew up with no internet. We grew up with certain things like, TV went off at like midnight or 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, they sang the national anthem and it was just done. So nowadays, people, especially guys that are younger, they live off this. Like, come on, bro. This is their life. They grew up with internet. They grew up with cell phones. Now it's almost impossible to take a person's cell phone. You can't take a kid's cell phone in school. They be getting mad trying to fight. Yeah, think about it. If you steal somebody's cell phone and won't give it back, you going to jail. Like there's all kind of things inside your cell phone. There's personal videos. There's personal phone numbers. There's your identification. Think about it. You got your credit card saved on here. You got your social security information. All of that stuff is saved on your cell phone. So it's different. It's a different generation. And people that are going to be on Instagram, that's how they live. That's how they express themselves. I think sometimes as consumers, we start to look for scapegoats. Like we want to look for a reason why a person ain't playing good. And the lowest common denominator, easiest same thing to say is they're not concentrating. No, maybe they're just not good. Let's just call it. Maybe physically they got beat. That's just what happened, right? So, but that's a little bit off the subject. The subject is how much longer can the Cleveland Browns continue to not make any changes if they continue to lose? And that answer, and I'm gonna steal this. And I told him when I talked to him, I told Quincy Carey I was going to steal this. He said they got to make decisions and changes while they have the ability to do it themselves and before they are forced to make changes. And I was like, oh, that was kind of deep. That was kind of deep. See, it's a difference between making changes on your own accord and making changes when you have to make changes. Everybody know it's not a written place somewhere that says, what is that? What is that time period? Where's the line of demarcation with that? Everybody just knows when you get there. Case in point. They come out here and they look like that again. They get smoked by the Eagles. You go 0-4 against the entire NFC East, and you have not even reached a division game. That is called, you're going to have to be forced to make that choice. Because here's the thing, Tyvis says something. The longer you do not abide by the rules and regulations of doing what's best for 52 or 53 men in that locker room, it's going to be a problem. Because what's going to happen is pretty soon, it's different from taking them L's against Philadelphia and New York Giants and the Cowboys and the Commanders. But when you start taking them L's to the Bengals, to the Ravens, and to the Steelers, it's different. It's a different level of vitriol that comes with that. Different level of angst that comes with that. Because you don't never want to lose to your brother. You don't never want to lose to your cousins. You don't want to never lose to the people that you know, because they're going to talk that talk, especially if you play them twice a year. And the fans is going to be very sensitive to that factor too. These are division games, and they mean more because there's a close rivalry, there's a close geographical history, and there's a close history period of those games played against each other. So, there has to be something to give. You can't continue to lose football games and not change the direction of what the offense is, or not change who's calling the plays, or not change the quarterback, or not change something about it. Because what happens is pretty soon, if you let that grace period that we've given you as two-time coach of the year, eventually that wears off. And all we know of you is the fact. See, that's the thing about NFL games. We play so few of them, and it's a year-round communication about the NFL and what's going on and everything, that the games mean so much more in season. Every single game is so impactful. So even if you did win 2 Coach of the Years, the games and what's going on today trumps everything that you had before. Because just like me, there's a lot of people that are in the moment and in where they need to be at and locked in on the fierce urgency of what are you doing right now, and are you getting better or are you getting worse? And you don't want them L's to kind of pile up on you. You 1-5, don't look good. Now you're 1-6 and don't look good. 1-7, you don't look good. And now, whether y'all want to say y'all heard it or not, you know who will hear it? The owner. Because his people will tell him. Because, by the way, good luck trying to fight. Mayor Bibb was on the show today. Good luck trying to fight. Good luck trying to fight and doing what we need to talk about. Good luck trying to get you a stadium when you wanted something. People are a little less receptive when you're taking L's and you're asking for money and you're a billionaire. Trust me, something will give. When we get back, we'll get to this. We talked about all the negative stuff. What is the silver lining? Believe it or not, I do think there's a silver lining in this situation, and I'll let you know what it is when we get back. It's G. Bush right here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Network. Well, speaking of network, we got right now. Make sure you check out, if you're listening to this, make sure you check out Ultimate Guardians. Hopefully the Guardians can get a win tonight against the Detroit Tigers. Make sure you check out Zach Meisel and Adam the Bull, 2 of the best to do it on the Ultimate Guardians twice a week now. Ultimate Cavaliers, Jason Lloyd, Mikey McNuggets. Guess what? Season is rapidly approaching. First game, exhibition game happened. Make sure you check those guys out as football or season winds down and basketball season heats up. Ultimate 216, Earl the Pearl just dropped the episode. Fiery. He's going telling Jimmy Haslam, I need more. You setting us up for this failure. Make sure you go check out Earl the Pearl and Ultimate 216, mix of sports and culture. And then, of course, it's G. Bush, man, the big dog, the big homie. You know what it is, the Duke and Knee Jerk, the captain, the general of Project Stockpile. Subscribe right now so you can get every single one of those episodes twice a week on the Ultimate Browns right here on the UCSS Network. Welcome back to the fastest 30 minutes in sports. It's G. Bush right here. Make sure you continue to subscribe and support us over here on the Ultimate Browns. Going through rough times, you try to find a silver lining. Is there a silver lining when you're talking about the Cleveland Browns in 2024? I think one of the silver linings that you'll find as we talk about the Cleveland Browns is this. As the games continue to go on, you're going to have a process of elimination. you're going to be able to find out exactly what's going on, right? First thing I'm going to find out is about the spirit of this team. Last year, that y'all showed me something by winning all those games and making the playoffs with 5 different quarterbacks. But also, there's a certain things called perseverance, and it's called year to year what you got for me. And year to year what you got for me is that was cute. You did what you didn't need to do last year, but what are you doing this year? Are you still going to be able to come out here and play hard every single year? Because what I'm looking for, and a lot of people were looking for, is they believe in this culture that when the culture is changed, you have a style, you have a certain play that is automatically infused in you, that it doesn't matter if you're a guy that got drafted here or a guy came from another organization, that the Cleveland Browns have a culture of doing certain things a certain way. And one of those things we thought were changing is the fact that they were going to play hard and competitive every single time they were out there, no matter who was on the field. And we're starting to question that a little bit. We want to see, I believe the silver lining is coming up this week and in these future other games. We're going to see if you guys are going to talk the talk. You guys have been doing it, but are you going to walk the walk? Are you going to come out here? Is somebody going to put their foot down and they win a football game like this game against the Eagles on the road? Are you going to be able to pick it up and make sure that the team don't quit on each other? Where's your leadership? Where's the guys that are going to pull the guys together and say, hey, we're not about to do this today? You don't see that. That's the first thing. 2, are they still continually playing hard for the head coach? Are they playing hard for the head coach? Because what I want to know is, do we have a voice? Do we have a person? Do we have a coach that is willing? Do we have a coach that is willing to go out there, make tough decisions, and his football team follow him? Right now, I'm a little nervous because guess what? That effort that I'm seeing on the field, the energy is waning. But the one thing hasn't happened. You ain't had no leaks in Berea, no leaks of guys talking about, man, I support this quarterback. Guys, basically making business decisions, not playing, saying they got hamstrings, and guys kind of not really being, we're trying to make sure that they ain't happening yet. So right now, those things are happening, but I'm worried about the energy. And another loss can actually add to that a little bit. So that's the second thing I'm looking for here as well. Third thing, diagnostics. I'm going to find out in the next 3 to 4 games what was the main culprit. Right now, they're playing so bad in multiple fronts. I can't even tell you who the main issue is. Quarterback's going to get the main fault because he's the signal caller. He's just, for better or worse, that's what's going to be. And he's played so bad that it's kind of hard to evaluate other people too. But the offensive line is right there with him. The scheme, the play calling, right there with him. The lack of running game, right there with him. The turnovers, the lack of time management, all those things. So guess what? Over the next couple of weeks, you'll start to see the process of elimination kind of hit you and get to where you get the opportunity to see it. And one of the things is you're going to see if they lose a couple more games, chances are Deshaun Watson will be sitting down. If Deshaun Watson is sitting down and Jameis Winston comes in and plays well, then you knew what it was, right? You can't tell me that Deshaun Watson playing 17 weeks can play better than Jameis, that is going to play worse than Jameis Winston when Jameis Winston was sitting on the sideline and the offense ain't even curtailed to him, right? If Kevin Stefanski says, well, we're going to keep Deshaun Watson and I'm just going to let Dorsey call the plays. Well, now we're going to see. Does he turn plays over to Dorsey? Does the offense look better? If the offense looks better with Deshaun Watson magically and Dorsey is calling the plays, then we knew it was Stefanski. We knew it was some disconnect somewhere. We'll know. Hey, guess what? If it's Nick Chubb and Nick Chubb comes back, they run the ball more efficiently. He's getting 100 yards here or there. He's breaking off 6-yard runs, 6 a carry, and then the offense looks better. Deshaun Watson looks better. Then we know. Nick Chubb was the straw that stirs everything. Everything runs through him, and he is the key to the offense. And so you might want to go back to featuring him like he did a couple of years ago. So the offense will probably change. So all of these things are things that you can only find out by changes that you make in real time. And I'm interested and anxious to see that, because I think it's the most important thing the Cleveland Browns need to figure out. Because the thing that's looming large over all of this is, if you do need to go have a rebuild, whether that's a hard rebuild or a soft rebuild, you need to know whether or not the front office is able to get the best evaluation on a quarterback, on an offensive lineman, on a game-breaking receiver, on replacements on the defensive line. You need to have somebody, you need to be locked in and see if you got the right people to make those investments, to make those decisions, and especially when it comes to quarterback. So Stefanski, Andrew Berry, they're going to have to prove themselves. Can they make tough decisions? Can they coach on the fly? Can they hold it down during adversity? And are they the right people to lead a said rebuild if in what point in time it comes to that? So those are the things we'll get the chance to see, and we'll see those in real time. So that's the silver lining for me. With that being said, you never know where G. Bush might show up. Internet, television, radio, all the above, letter D. But if you want the fresh cut, the fresh take on sports, this is the place to be. Have a great evening, and go Browns.